pleasure and honor to share our story of a Publica startup that has been started in August last year with a great ambition and was almost cancelled in November because our ICO was on the level of cancelling. We did it in November, potentially the worst month for ICO with a median raise of $4,000. So where we are now? But first, to earn the possibility to share our story, I should put you in a certain context of what problem Publica is solving for publishing, for authors. How do you think authors publish their books? What are their options? A traditional one is a publisher. It's like VC. They're specialized banks who have liquidity to help you launch the book. They have editors, cover artists, translators, promoters, wholesalers, relationship with retail networks, but they more or less take your freedom and your creative freedom, of course, and they leave you around 10% of the earnings. And it's quite hard to get in. Generally, new authors are rejected. So what is their path? They generally do self-publishing. It's authors, entrepreneurs, and how do they write their books? It's normally at night, on the evening, on the weekend. It results in massive amount of low-quality titles. Authors themselves call an Amazon a mass grave or a treasury, because there are a lot of books that might have seen few copies sold. And when you ask an author, like, why this is the case, they tell, well, we like liquidity, we like funds to create a quality title. And that's exactly where Publica comes in. And if you think that it's not really a problem, then you might remember like Joan Rowling. She was rejected in all possible places, and her first run of Harry Potter was like 500 copies because somebody just kind of had mercy. So how exactly we are solving? Like, what is the Publica magic pill? How do we provide funding? How do we give money to authors? This magic pill or secret sauce has been named several times from the stage. And that's tokenization. Tokenization as we see it, and for me it's like water. It saves your life. You can cook soup. You can make a steam engine, or you can create electricity power for you. Tokenization is as liquid and as many faces as water, at least from what we evidence in Publica. So how exactly does it work? How do we tokenize books? First, we'll take a look at how, because it might help you to see how this particular case can unlock some more possibilities of tokenizing X in your business, or in the business you might be involved. So how a book converts into a token. We have three areas in Publica ecosystem. Tokenization happens on the level of Ethereum in a smart contract. Every book has its own smart contract where author is owner. Smart contract upholds information on book pricing, potential tire pricing, discounts. It points to the source of the book, and of course it contains mapping of token holders, of book token holders, public address, and number of book tokens this particular address has bought. So these are people who are entitled to own and access the book. The books themselves, they're stored in a public cloud. Potentially it can be a blockchain or a decentralized storage like Storage, MadeSafe, ONC, and the like. Currently we use our file because we are not really addressing currently tamper-resistant books or certain controversial publications that would not be published elsewhere. The cloud is protected by access layer that of course should make sure that only the owner of the token can actually read the book. So how does it happen? We read the book in e-reader. But if a book has a token, e-reader should have a wallet. So few weeks ago, we have launched the first ever e-reader coupled with wallet, e-reader wallet app. You can download it in Google Play right now. So in terms of time, if an author comes, first of all, we set up their content in the cloud. Second, like it's EPUB, okay? Just conventional format. Second, we deploy smart contract when we figure out the terms of sale that author wants to present his artwork. And then this book appears both in the web store and in the e-reader app. So when we want to get this particular book, essentially we are buying the, like we are sending cryptocurrency to the smart contract that starts listing our public key as an owner of this particular book token. And when we want to access the book, we are sending a request to a Publica cloud signed with a private key, because wallet is essentially just a public and private key management, right? It doesn't store any tokens of cryptocurrency. So access layer is checking if signature is correct, then we really know that this person is legitimate, valid owner of this public key, and if he or she is listed in the mapping of smart contract, we can provide the book content to this particular reader. After Alex successfully purchases the book and shows how he's reading it, he is approached by his friend with the same app. And by scanning his public address, Alex is able to send his book over a blockchain to his friend or colleague. As a book is a token, it's freely transferable, just like any, so it's ERC20 standard token. So it can kind of travel over the blockchain just any other token from one owner to another. Our community right now has been sending a token of a book, Jules Verne, Journey Around the World in 80 days. So they have sent it across all the continents, like in few hours, from one community member to another. A book traveling around the world. Try to send an e-book from a conventional e-reader. But we will talk about it later. I mean, does it sound familiar? You have an idea. You might already have a token for this idea, but you didn't deliver yet. So that's an ICO model that has attracted billions in funding. So authors can do just like that, just this. And Publica is providing a platform, an ecosystem, like end-to-end, to actually run book ICOs for the authors. Our mission is to become, in few years, a place where more than 5,000 books will be founded successfully. And Publica will become, de facto, place where you start any book if you are an author entrepreneur. What else does it give? Of course, I mean, book ICOs provide funding to authors, but as any coin, it has two sides, and both are positive here, because on one hand, that's funding, it's kind of face value of what they raise, and another part is people. As you know, ICO is a great way to build your community, and authors want just that. They want a peer-to-peer relationship with their readers. And book ICO for them, it's a great community building and awareness building event for themselves and their book. So what else does it bring? For me, like 4 things. First of all, tokenization of a book empowers secondary markets. Authors never enjoyed really secondary market, and it was more like prohibited. With tokens, if you exchange them through Publica exchange, it's like Ether Delta decentralized stuff. We can call in smart contracts that our author would get like a fraction of a fee, like of a price or something on the secondary market. If you tokenize your book or anything, your book becomes money. So if your smart contract has 10,000 of books and they're being bought, then you generally can pay to your suppliers, to your contractors with your tokens. You can hire a translator and tell, hey, I pay in my book tokens. You know it's liquid. Third thing is that Publica has introduced a better DRM as a publisher themselves. Because currently on top of DRM, there are some things that very few people are happy about. And a token and cryptographically protected books actually enable true ownership. Because current DRM is an end-user license agreement that gives you a temporary right to have certain, and if you travel to another country outside of the scope of this agreement, the book will disappear from your Kindle. Or it can disappear in general if something will be changed in the agreement with the author, as has happened with Kindle several times. Authors also are very excited about the transparency that the blockchain brings to their sales, and ability to encode in the smart contract their collaborators. So if they cannot afford, or if they don't want to afford an editor right now, or they want to give to an editor or translator or cover artist or promoter a better incentive, they just, okay, here's a smart contract that I'm setting up in Publica platform. Of course, it's just graphical user interface. You don't even need to know it will be converted in Solidity into binary and deployed into Ethereum. This is, okay, I see that there is a button, add a collaborator. So I'm just adding you, tell me your public address, and I can set up so whatever 15% from all my sales will go to you with like 2 years from now, or when it will reach, say, 1 million in dollar value. Currently, the ecosystem is ready to do it, but the absence of transparency in sales of ebooks, because you have to trust somebody, the sales are accounted for like after a few months, and these reports are quite obscure. So ecosystem can only survive currently under the umbrella of big publishers who can finance these freelancers or full-time employees. So when we bring this transparency to the publishing ecosystem, now they can contract better. I mean, it enables contract. What's hot about Publica right now? Within a week, we will launch our first book ICO for a national best-selling author from US with a total followers more than 500,000. And there is after successful launch, we open a platform for everybody else. We have more than 2,000 authors in the waiting list. There are challenges, however. I will mention a few of them, and I guess you will challenge me with the questions. Every book, just think about it, every book is a separate contract on Ethereum network. A contract deployment, I mean, the fee varies depending on network price, but generally it's $20. We have been approached by several ebook wholesalers who told, well, guys, we love you. 1 million books. Are you happy with it? Well, yes, we are. But if we deploy them directly, we have to pay $20 million just to bring them in our app. Well, of course, we can do deferred deployment, so only when there is demand for this book, then we actually deploy smart contract for this book. But still, Ethereum makes it prohibitive to scale to the kind of too much popular ebook sellers. I mean, I'm not even mentioning transaction fees. You're of course aware and have heard from this and another stage. It really makes everybody suffer. And also, even the fact that your customers have to have a bit of Ether, and you have to think, well, if you want to buy our book token, you also have to have a bit of Ether for a transaction fee. Okay, it's quite hard. And I mean, and regulatory aspect as well, it's a challenge, because if we want to bring mass adoption to this, we have to allow people to pay with their credit cards. Well, of course, they have to have a wallet, and we can make it to get generated automatically. But exchanges are generally quite rigid in terms of allowing automated fiat to crypto transactions. So that's just some of the things we are working on. I mean, we are solving this by collaborating with one company who got an exchange such license in Estonia. So they provide their license as a service. So we are building all the technology. They just act as a regulated legal entity who actually facilitates the exchange. Concerning transaction fees and speed, we are considering to run our permission blockchain, possibly Quorum, that will have, say, libraries as a nodes, Publica, or community, say, stakeholders in Publica project, who are trusted to run node, which processes transaction and append them to the blockchain. Anybody can broadcast transactions. I mean, when you buy a book, you are broadcasting transaction. But only trusted nodes will be able to validate them and append to the blockchain file. So that's something we are considering and working on. Thank you for staying. That's all I wanted to share in the format of presentation. Sorry for not being able to run a video. I will be happy to hear some questions, or if there is a need for any clarifications on the technology, just welcome.
Any questions? What's your biggest challenge at the moment?
I think we have persuaded, say, by becoming a member of our Alliance of Independent Authors, by traveling around book conferences, authors and blockchain is a thing for them to consider. Actually, publishers are even more interested. So we thought, like, the challenge number one, we bring authors. Fine. Authors will bring their readers, but our challenge is actually to make their purchase experience a successful one. Because otherwise, we just, okay, you're a best-selling author, right? You have huge followers, like base, but 500,000. But guess what? Maybe just 500 of them use cryptocurrency. So we really don't want to create this bounce-back feeling for authors who kind of came for a show and just saw a few people coming. And we also, there could be much more people coming in, but they will bounce because they will be completely alien to the concepts of seed phrase, private key, and kind of securing your wallet. I think that's, and it's not really like our challenge, it's a challenge of any crypto project. It's a readiness of a mass consumer to actually go and use your app and feel good about it. That's our biggest challenge.